I was surprised with the timeout calls, and I know that I'm just curious with in my mind, when you're calling timeouts like that, I'm like, man, you're giving them the opportunity to make sure that they get the play they want, and I didn't like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the coaches across the league, and not just Kevin Stefanski, feel differently about that than media and fans watching. Because my first instinct is, man, you're taking the pressure off the Vikings, right? By calling timeout, letting them huddle. And they had time. It wasn't like it was a really short clock. Um, but you're still taking some pressure off them. They only had one timeout left. So, if there happened to be a sack or a play in the middle of the field, maybe they'd have to use that last timeout. Um, so that was my first thought. But then, you watch other games around the league, and teams call timeouts on defense because they're looking forward to, okay, if there is a score here, I need time on the clock. So I don't know. It struck me kind of funky when it first happened, but I understand Stefanski's thinking. I'll tell you what, the first one felt like he looked out on the field, looked at his defense, and thought it was gassed, and said, "I better take one." And then as the Vikings got closer into field goal range and eventually a touchdown, I think he thought, "I better save as much time as possible." But the other part of that is, if that's the plan, is, hey, we need to save time, then I think you got to tell your corners, if there's a play out of bounds or play near the sideline, push the guy out of bounds so you can save a timeout.
Yeah. The other thing was, you weren't threatening with the way this passing game is. Get to overtime. I was like, just get to overtime and see if you can figure it out, and then maybe you can beat them up front. Put 8 linemen in and try to run the ball into a box of 8 or 10. It didn't make sense.